Hey guys, how's it going? Jovan Hutton Pulitzer here, and tonight we're continuing our 10-part series on our judicial system. It's a study, layman's level, right from a person in the mix of it, spent her life doing it, an attorney that can actually share with you the facts of how everything goes on. But it's a 10-part series that we're just delivering in 10 easy bites for everybody. That might help you make sense with some of the things going on in our world, or lack of things, since everybody's confused about elections and outcomes, and why is the court doing or not doing certain things. Let me go back over. I want to just share with you so you understand what we're going to be covering in this 10-part series, because there'll be 10 modules just like this. Last night, module 1 was the mission of our court system and judicial independence and obligations. And yes, a lot of questions came up, and we're going to try to get answers from some of those things we missed as well. But tonight is how do we choose our judges and other branches of government. But take a look real quick, or take a screenshot right there so you understand basically what we'll be covering, because a lot of times we just don't understand how do our court systems work. And right now, people are thinking that our court systems absolutely do not work, just like Carol just posted, hi from corrupt Michigan. And you're right, everybody's feeling that everything is corrupt, that we have this incredible cabal. I've even heard people claiming Zionist, all kinds of other funky stuff on this. No wonder people are so confused, but we're going to get to the bottom of it. Now, here's how we're getting to the bottom of it, and providing you with your education, because you literally need to learn from people who have been there. Her name's Susan Settembrino, right? Literally, she wrote the guide to this, and the guide is Unchecked Power. And that's what we're talking about, is because if government is corrupted and judges don't abide by the rules of law, then basically what's going on is, well, that's a classic case and study of literally unchecked power. Susan, did I say that right? Would that be the definition of unchecked power in its basic level?
Absolutely. And wait, Michigan, wasn't that where they found 177,000 votes that were removed off the voter roll after?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what was Trump's alleged loss? 155,000? That's pretty interesting. That's like slam dunk. I rest my case. I mean, kind of thing here.
You would think that right after there is all of these issues, and then the state scrubs 117,000 or 55,000 or whatever the number was from their voter rolls, that would have been an omission of something nefariously going on.
How is it not? It clearly is. I'm sorry, it is.
I find it's interesting that everybody forgets in 2016 that the top Democrats were screaming at the top of their lungs about ballot harvesting, the machines not counting right, the machine swapping votes, etc. And now everybody ignores it. And
no,
so
it was all the way up until like right a couple of months before the election that they were screaming. Wasn't there a movie about it? And
it's kind of gotten nuts.
It's incredible. But that's another, like, there's so many things to talk about. So we got to focus, right? And I'm so happy that you are part of the focus on the court system, because I know if you now focus, someone with your mind, we can do this.
I am absolutely trying to focus on getting this fixed.
And I just want to say I'm sorry, you're absolutely focused on getting this fixed. And what does that mean?
Inventing a brand new election system where votes will always count. Can't all of the holes in the system where it can all be plugged, where one vote, one person, one count, and no way to manipulate it. Like Reverend Scott says, it's bullshit. We're fed that the election is fair. You're right. It wasn't. So is this a problem of our judges first, or is this just America first problem?
No, this election problem will be fixed along with the court system, and we will be better than when we started. This was meant to be so that, when you grow fruit, the seed rots before the fruit grows. So we are in the rotting stage.
Amen to that. We are in the rotting stage. That's what that smell is. I agree.
There's a saying my son used to say to me that used to get me through everything. And it was from Rocky. And it said, and I give it to all the listeners and to you and me, it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Right? How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. How much can you take, Jovan?
Right now, I'm actually a pretty resilient punching bag. Look, I'm like everybody else. There's times when I get really dark on this and get upset about it. But then I understand, historically, we've been here before. We've been through trials and tribulations. And basically, bad times and trouble is only change attempting to occur. And that's where we learn and grow, because we don't learn in good times. We only learn in bad times.
And can I tell you on that note, and I saw your expression last time we spoke, where you realized, how much money is involved and how could this be a fair process. When I found out my own way about the court system, I cried for humanity. I said, my God, how can this be? This is our life, our family, our children. So on to our show, but I'm with you. We cry, we get up, we go again. And that's where we're at.
That's right. And I do say one thing, folks. The media is there to poison you, not to inform you. And the media is there is to make your brain mush. We're here to get everybody's eyes open. And just like LaShawn said, that is what's important. And so you got to understand, the media is pounding on you to get you to give up. So for all of you that are thinking about giving up, that would be the epitome of putting in lot with them and turning your back on the country. And many people are saying, I'm never going to vote again. That would be going right into the plan. Because remember, if you get people not to vote and only a few select people vote of the right class, you never need to have a rigged election. So you have to stay with it. Okay, Susan, let's talk about how we get these judges to begin with.
So I want to, sometimes it's hard to explain things. So I want to try and give you a picture of what it's like. So it's Purim. I don't know. Maybe I could be like a mob boss in the court.
There you go. Right? Well, yeah.
If we make a movie, could I play like the evil mob boss here? So basically, page 135 of my book, I'll just skip around a little bit, where incredibly, the headline, Bronx bar backs new head against allegations of mob ties. So the member of the Bronx Bar Association is linking the new president to the Bronx Bar Association. This is back in 2012. Doesn't matter. It's like the soap operas. Nothing changes. They just the story stays the same no matter how much time passes. So it's incredible that this guy was saying that it was linked to a mob family infiltrating the court system. And there's other.
Well, they did it back in old Italy. They would basically raise the siblings of the merchants and mob families to become popes. It's been around forever, right?
Right. There you go. What great insight. That's right. And then
you didn't know there was Pope Two-Finger Tony, did you? Did you forget about Pope Two-Finger Tony?
I didn't know him. I don't know. But I got to check him out. Let's see. Now, another excerpt from another article is Justice is Blindsided. I think it was in the Village Voice. So this guy, Joseph Ruggiero, he was a Democratic leader from Dutchess County in 2002. And he said that on the day of the Judicial Convention, when Democrats picked their Supreme Court nominees, Shelley Silver placed a conference call to a group of party leaders gathered at the Westchester headquarters and asked them to support Lippmann. And what happened? They said, we all said yes, recalled Ruggiero. How could they say no? With a Republican governor and Senate Majority Leader at the time, Silver was New York's top Democrat, and Denny Farrell, Silver's right hand in the Assembly, was the party's chair. So just to give you an idea how phone calls are made and what's expected. And, you know, even regarding Judge Jonathan Lippmann, who is Shelley Silver's best friend, okay? He was Shelley Silver's best friend, and there's so many good articles exposing how this system works. And even Schumer is in my book, where Schumer. Oh,
that was my fault. Sorry about that.
I think he's trying to move me along. Okay.
No, that was my fault. My fault.
All right.
I wanted to make sure people saw your book, because as you're reading out of the book, I wanted to make sure they have that.
Great.
So they understand as you're reading these, you can find Unchecked Power Guide. You can find it on Amazon, but this is how you kind of get the inside information, folks. Go ahead. Sorry.
So you can go from story to story. You can go to Vito Lopez, the Democratic leader of Brooklyn, who was replaced by Clarence Norman Jr., who is still in jail on charges of corruption. And then it says how Vito Lopez was facing questions of whether he enabled his daughter's judgeship and what, if any, influence he wields over the selection and election of judges. And the article went on to say, to me, the answer is, as they say, a no-brainer. Mr. Lopez, as a political party leader, has at the very least great influence, if not total control, over the judges who get picked. And I can go on and on. It talks about how Obama, despite all the criticism under Judge Lippmann's rule of the New York court system, chose him to head, to be an important figure in national politics from the court system perspective, and didn't bother to care about all the victims that came forward to address the grievances and the problems in the court system. So it goes on, and it also talks about Schumer, how he changed the face of the federal courthouse, and how Schumer would go. And I know colleagues of mine, they had fundraisers for Schumer. Lots of money was raised for Schumer. Those guys are lawyers. And then Schumer picks judges, and then the lawyers go before the judges that Schumer picked. Do you see a problem with this whole system? So that's just an inside look on how the whole story goes.
Let's peel back that onion a bit. So just for the basic, simple part, are there qualifications to be a judge in the first place? At least some qualifications of some sort? What is it?
Oh, yeah. According to, I think it was in Staten Island, they had how to become a judge. So here's the qualifications. So you should be active in your community. You should be involved in political parties. And oh yeah, you have to spend at least $500,000.
Wait, what? Where is this? That's a joke.
Recommend. This was.
Is that a joke?
What?
Is that a joke? I mean,
no, it's not a joke.
Where was this published?
Yes, this was reported in the Staten Island Advance. It was in 11/28 of 2001. How to become a judge, and there were panelists, and there were attorneys and judges, and they said how to be elected to the state Supreme Court or civil court. And it gets worse. I mean, they
at least have to be an attorney, right?
Yeah, although I've heard of stories where there were some that were waived in and that were not technically attorneys. And then there were stories about, but the bottom line is having a lot of money.
I want to, just real quick, Susan, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm saying this for Brian. You can see it on the screen. Wow, man, she has nice hair. I just wanted to make sure you got that.
Oh, well, thank you. Since I haven't gone, it's a do-it-yourself shop here.
Okay, I want to go back. They literally basically wrote an article that say, be in a party, be politically active, be willing to spend $500,000. What do you spend the $500,000 on?
who knows where it all actually goes. And Clarence Norman was in jail for taking money for the party bosses that basically nominate the judges, right? They choose the judges. And then when the election is really a formality, because once the party bosses pick the judge, right? If it's a Democrat, people vote party line. So they're not really checking out the judges. So if the local party boss and the local political scheme says, vote for this person, no matter who he is or she is, they're going to vote according to party line. So it's a de facto situation. And actually, there was, it's amazing. I mean, the Richmond County Bar Association, they talk about the best way you should join. The best way in this system is to join political clubs and curry favor with county leaders. They go on and on with different recommendations.
So even the basis of judgeship is not based on merit. Is that what I'm hearing? Even at the lowest levels, it's not based on merit?
I don't believe it's based on merit at all.
So here's the question Penny asked: how do we get any justice when this is the system? What do we do?
So first of all, so we're still here to learn about the system. And I think even though I'm saying this, there's a lot of information to understand and take it to heart. Yeah, this is the system. How do we get any justice? We have to absolutely demand reform within the system. And the system, as you saw with the election, really it's the local all the way up. So we have to, on local levels like Staten Island or other counties, we have to get involved with the county and demand that certain laws are followed, that there's oversight. I'll tell you one thing, and it was very well known. I don't want to miss out because people don't really understand, and it's a very difficult topic. Now I'm trying to simplify it and explain things, but scholars in the legal profession, they knew that the court system is a very powerful weapon. It can be a very powerful weapon that if the wrong people got in, number one, if the wrong people are in, the politicians or other third parties can use the system to target opponents through civil or criminal courts. It's a very powerful system. And if you have the wrong people running the show, it's very dangerous. Just like if you have the wrong people running the show and you're trying to get your case heard regarding the election and the wrong people are running the show, they're going to make sure you don't get that done. You don't get your subpoenas addressed. You don't get your orders. You don't get the case done on the merits. So that's number one. And the only way to ensure that the system is working properly is to create a system where we have checks and balances, separation of power, and oversight. So when we talk about fixing the system, that's what we have to focus on, and we will. But ensuring a truly independent judiciary, it also seems to often be opposed by political actors. There was a case where I think it was Torres versus the board, Torres Lopez, I believe, versus the Board of Education, that went all the way to the Supreme Court. But Lopez Torres versus the New York State Board of Electors. And the lawyer for Lopez Torres, who was fighting the system, said that the archaic system rewards party bosses and deprives voters of a real say in the process. And it was amazing. We were so hopeful. And Judge Gleason, it was a landmark victory in the Court of Appeals. But then, and they were going to change the way we were choosing our judges. And we were so hopeful about that. But unfortunately, at the Supreme Court level, it was overturned. So it was reversed. And so we have to remember that just as people wanted regarding our election, they wanted chaos. They wanted, it didn't have to, we send people, like you said, Jovan, we send them out to the moon we're we have Space Force, we have amazing doctors and everything. We could get the election right. And it's very simple, as you said. It's a paper ballot that you can confirm and can be audited. Why do you think that it's so complicated? Because they want it to be complicated, because corruption hides within the complicated, smoke and mirror type of system.
I think that's what as we go through this and I learn more from you, which I learned a tremendous amount from you, I realize it's not as I thought. You said something a minute ago about separation of powers. Let's look at this real quick because I have some questions about this. Watch this.
So this is the most important aspect we can have. 3 separate functioning independent branches of government to act as checks and balances on one another. But in a politicized court system, these 3 branches are no longer independent. They are beholden to the political machine. What does that mean? That means the machine, where attorneys and where special interest groups and where businesses, that they are funding this machine to ensure their candidates are in office. The governors, the attorney generals, the DAs, the assemblymen, the judges, they're all part of the same machine. So do you think there's any oversight or accountability in that machine? Are there any separations of powers? Are they all part of one unit, advancing careers?
How do you fight something like that? I mean, lay out the 3 things that we can do that can start making a difference to bring this, because it's about open your eyes, right? But it's about opening your eyes. What would be the 3 things you would give our viewers that they should do?
The viewers, well, first, I still say that we have to understand this, because this system has been put into place and been utilized, and it's there and it's operating in that way. You have to understand the nooks and the crannies, even though it's you want to get to the end, but in order to change the system, you have to know how the other side thinks and what they do and what they've cultivated. So, I mean, I have suggestions on definitely what we need to do within the system. We need accountability. Do you know that in earliest English law, judicial immunity was not an option? That personal actions could be brought against judges. The judges face serious consequences for creating false or malicious judgments and for acting outside of their authority.
And we can't do that anymore.
Well,
if a judge retaliates on someone, it's allowed.
Why do we have 230? And look what happened with tech. Why do the vaccines have they have immunity from being sued? I don't believe in giving anyone, any medical company, any pharmaceutical company, any tech company, any government, especially a government employee, immunity from. When they engage in misconduct, they should be held responsible. Prosecutors can't sue a prosecutor. They have qualified immunity. Can you imagine? They could put people have been left in jail for years, put behind bars wrongfully. Laws were broken and their lives shattered. And you can't have consequences against someone who engages in that conduct? That's baloney to me. So one is take away the immunity, and then you'll see things change. Because like I said, there's links in the chain. So if a judge is acting a certain way, but he can be personally liable, he may not want to do that. It's when he's given immunity and nothing could happen to him and he's protected that he will do whatever he wants to do.
So let's ask a question. Is this something like any type of reform that really needs a state as a champion first, and one state to start putting it into practice to stand the system up and to show it works? How could this begin?
Well, we are all states, but we are branches. If we can get the branches to start operating and the legislature make the laws that matter and the executive branch enforce the laws that matter and the judiciary, address and interpret the laws that matter. But what good is it if you don't have people working within the system that are reputable? Now, obviously, not everybody in the system is not reputable. So they were very smart when they know that there's a lot of good people, a lot of hardworking people. They go to work every day. All you need is people strategically placed in different offices that are running the show, in the DA's office and elsewhere. And they and so DA says, I'm not going to bring an action, or I am going to bring an action against this couple who were guarding their house with their gun when a mob was trying to break in. I'm going to indict them. I'm going to use my power. That is warped. That is sick. But that's allowed because there's no oversight and they have the wrong people in positions of great power. And that should not be that should never happen. And that's so dangerous. So what else do we need in ways of changing the system? You asked me, should I continue along that?
Please do.
We need transparency. Just like you need transparency with the election, you need transparency with the court system. So the courts, they must publicize their operation and their decision process. Judges must disclose their assets and conflicts of interest. I came up with an idea where we had a database, a form where we could know about the judges, about the cases, and we can create a pattern and full transparency.
I like that.
Right.
I like that. It's just information. I mean, we're an information society now. This should be easy to discover. We just have to create the mechanism that people can see it.
Everything that I'm saying is so easy and there's no excuse. Everything that you said regarding the election, it's so easy and straightforward. There's no excuse to have any machines going on the internet, if that's what's happening. Never. There's no excuse to have chaos, to have disorganization, to have custody of the ballots, chain of custody missing. There's just no excuse for that.
So I want to remind everybody just real quick. Let me show you everybody. This is what we're doing. We're doing a 10-part series on understanding our judicial system. This is module 2 of that, where we're talking about how we choose our judges and other branches of government. Susan, I want to go into something that I pulled from an earlier seminar you did. I think, and this was one of the shocks for me, and it looks like one of the holes that we have to plug. Folks, here, take a look at this.
Do our judges need to please their supervisors? No? Who says no? How do you know that? They don't. Do you think that our judges may need to please an administrative judge or an appellate judge or somebody ahead of them, higher up, to advance their careers? Do you think not? You think they shouldn't, but do you think they may? Do our judges need to please political or economic powers that be? Anyone?
Why would someone spend $5 million to get elected as a judge?
You were reading my speech. Come on, this is unbelievable. He asked me for my slides, and look what he does. Okay, so do our judges need to please third parties?
Of course, because how else are they going to get reelected?
Oh my God, these guys, they just know the answers. Come on, elected judges, read it. They need to please other parties to raise funds, right? Appointed judges, they need to please the politicians and their supporters. That's our system. The public, us, the judges don't need to please us because there's no incentive.
Okay, how do we change? Is there even a way to change this incentive to keep from kissing ass and pleasing the funders and get it back to the people? What can we do?
Well, there's a lot of things we could do. Even when the judges want raises, right? There has to be hearings. You could request hearings. We can request hearings on. We have to be organized. We have to be unified. That's number one. We have to stand by other people who are suffering from legal abuse or political abuse within the system. We have to be one for all and all for one. So if there's if there's a court that's abusing its power, we all have to be part of that. And we have to demand that there's oversight, the laws are being followed, it's public, and that that we want the laws enforced. We could also we could challenge any type of pay raises. Why should any of these people get a pay raise when they're not even doing their job? And if they're using the funds, we should ask and demand an audit. If they're using public funds, like they did with Trump, and I believe that Senate hearing was much more than a mockery. I believe it was unlawful and dangerous, and those people should be held to the legal standard and their professions addressed. But if they're going to use millions of dollars of our money and our offices, then they should be made to account for that. And that's unlawful if you're using the money for unlawful purposes. We never agreed to allow them to weaponize our offices. This is a business partnership. We hired them. Would anybody be in business with someone that they wouldn't let them see the books, that they wouldn't, that they would not be transparent, that they couldn't rely on, that they couldn't have a conversation with if they thought something was awry? Right? So the same Senate that brought false information, that wasted our time and energy, again,
$41 million.
$41 million. They're the ones who are telling us, right? The same ones that lied, and according to the lawyers and what we saw, gave doctored images of and edited images that was basically propaganda, and violated their own rules. But yet they're going to tell us to trust them that the election was 100% valid, right? But not allow us our basic rights, which is not a favor, to have it verified independently. I mean, look at what happened in Georgia. Trump asked the Secretary of State. They went by the numbers that they put out there. They put those numbers out about the dead people, the minors, and they went by the numbers the state put out. Then the state says, "Oh, those are not the numbers, but we can't give you the real numbers." Is that incredible? That's like that's the public's information. They've got to do it. So in wrapping up this segment, I just want to ask one question. Give people one action item to think about when it comes to how we elect these judges and officials. If everybody tonight was going to walk away as we wrap with one thing, what is that one thing you would suggest we start focusing on to get this fixed? Well, the one thing is, if we're unified, right, under a party, and we have a plan, and the plan is to address the government from the local offices, from the court offices, and demand oversight. I mean, there isn't, I'm sorry, Jovan, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Not one thing, because it's many things, but it's things that are finite that we can concentrate on, but it can't be just one thing.
Right.
The one thing, if we're not organized and we're here and we're there and we don't have a cohesive group and a plan of action, it's very hard for people. So you're asking me.
Well, I'm actually thinking that's what the answer is the answer is what we're doing right now is most people don't understand how bad it is. Most people don't understand. They certainly don't understand how it works. Our eyes are now open to the media. So the first thing to do is just keep on participating and feeding your brain right now. But you have to, like I say, I have no idea why you would even be watching newscasts anymore. I've shut them all off. Start feeding your brains with content, because while our brains turn to jelly with fake news and just totally crap programming, trying to feed us with their vision of what we should look like, from shows to advertisements, start realizing that in that zombieism we did sitting there, they stole our country out from underneath us, and you've got to get involved. I would suggest, folks, that one of the things you should consider is consider Susan's book and understand this from the inside. That's why we're doing it. Secondly, I know it's a lot to take in, but that's why we're trying to do it in bite-sized pieces so it doesn't literally glass over. Our next program will be on intellectual dishonesty. What does a court order judgment really mean? And that's what's going on in Arizona. They were basically told to comply, and they're basically telling the court and people and everything around to piss off. They don't want to comply. Susan, final words?
Yeah, can I leave you with, and these are things that we're starting from the bottom up, and we are going to make a difference because we're engaged. Like Jovan said, I don't watch any news. I shut it off. I cannot watch anything. But Judge, the Honorable Louis D. Brandeis said 3 different quotes, and they're quick. If we desire respect for the law, we must first make the law respectable. I guess what we can all do is stand by our brother and sister. If they're engaged in the courthouse and someone is not being treated well, we stand by and we support them, and we try and promote the rule of law wherever we are. Second quote, most of the things worth doing in the world had been declared impossible before they were done. This is being declared impossible, but we're going to do it. 3, neutrality is at times a graver sin than belligerence. And so as long as we're engaged and we're going to keep working on the solution and we just keep upping our game, okay, when we have a problem, just keep working on the solution. And the other thing is, write those letters. Demand that audits be done. Verify, that in Michigan, that's crazy, 177,000 votes. We have to deal with that. We have to deal with these things, and we have to be united under people like you, Jovan.
I appreciate that, Susan. Thank you, folks. I want to remind you, this is a 10-part series. I'm trying to keep these half the time that I normally go. Our next one will be on intellectual dishonesty. What does a court order or judgment really mean? I also want to let you know, we have heard you when it comes to what can you do to get with the Supreme Court, make them pay attention, write letters or whatever. We're going to do a special program on that. We're also going to do a special program on what you can do in Arizona to make your lawmakers pay attention. Susan, thank you so much for a great show again. I know this is a lot. We'll see you again next time, folks. We love you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All the best.